anyhow, I went to the football game, and one of the players ripped his pants, and it ripped all the way down the back. And so he had a bare butt sticking out. So he ran over to the side, and all the team gathered around him. And what did the cheerleaders do? They did a cheer, yah, yah, ray, ray. Dems that wins always wears holes there. That's what was the cheer that they made. I wish that was before cell phones. I wish I had recorded that. But I've always remembered that. Dems that wins always wears holes there. But it was an old hand-me-down uniform from Charlestown High School, and basketball uniforms and football uniforms and track uniforms but they accepted that because they were proud of their schools and they were good schools. And then when that took place, in my opinion, it was not a real positive thing. It was positive that we integrated, yes, but something happened to the standard, and I don't know why, and I don't want to even comment on it, but something changed.
Was it like the spirit, maybe the spirit of the?
Well, the spirit for their school and their pride in. The black community had pride in their school because they had good schools. They had a good school at East Side, good school at Grandview, and they were both elementary schools. And the big old school at Harpers Ferry Elementary, we sold. Pete Doherty and I went down there and met with I was the vice president, he was the president, and we went down and met with the Park Service people. They wanted to buy the building and the two elementary schools, and they offered us. I think they offered us $30,000. I think that's what they did. My memory's not real good, but it was just a pittance. Now it was asbestos galore in the old Harpers Ferry School. And we were fighting that at Page Jackson, and we knew what that was. That's why we put the brick on front of it so it wasn't friable. And then we had to tear up all the floors and put down new floors because that was asbestos. Anyhow, the whole school is asbestos, but the siding is asbestos. But they put brick on the outside. Anyhow. I remember making a comment to the Park Service people. I said, $30,000 is a lot of money, but the only problem is you didn't add enough zeros behind it.
That's right.
And I think we ended up getting, $300,000 for all of it, I believe.
Really? They added more zeros.
They added more zeros. Well, and we got almost not quite a city block in downtown Harpers Ferry. It butted up to the
the other side.
What's the name of it? Storer College. And a church. And that land was really valuable. There was a city park next to it this way. They finally made it a city park out of it, or a county park out of it. But anyhow,
how long did you teach?
I was in education for 36 years. I taught 8 years in a classroom and 8 years in the county office. And then I left to take over the family farm. And
when was that? Do you remember?
It was in the 70s. And I'd never milked a cow before.
So what did you have on the farm? Was it all cattle and
dairy
critters?
herd? Dairy farm. Okay. It belonged to my father-in-law, Calvin Nicodemus, and Mary, and that was Reva's mother and dad. And he was a very successful farmer, and he lived long enough to teach me enough to get by. None of my neighbors, all farmers, gave me about a 5% chance of lasting longer than a year. And but I always loved the outdoors, and it's just one of those things. And I'm still farming.
You're still
I
farming.
still have a herd of about 60 animals,
60.
and I make hay on the whole farm and pastured. And in fact, that's what I'm going to be doing this afternoon, mowing hay. So,
So where you are now on the farm, is it the same amount of acreage that you had when you took over?
yeah.
How
I
many?
actually know we've added 35 acres
Okay.
because Mr. Nick, I'd played music that night, and there was on New Year's Day, New Year's Eve was always a big night for a musician because you get paid a whole lot more to play on New Year's Eve. And it was the Brunswick Moose. It was a band upstairs and a band downstairs. It was a big deal down there. Now the place is closed up. And but anyhow, it was always a big deal. But so I didn't get home until about 3 o'clock that morning, and Reva was with me, and so we were sleeping in. About 7 o'clock, there was a knock on the back door, and I thought, no family members going to be somebody. I slept through the whole that part of it. Reva got up and went down. It was her dad, and so she hollered for me, so I came down, and it's a long history, but anyhow, he said with the old senator died, and they were land rich and cash poor, so they were going to sell off some of the houses that were on their properties to get enough to pay their money for the
taxes or something?
Yeah, for the income, for the taxes, for the what I can't think of the term now, but anyhow. So anyhow, he said, well, they're going to show the Porter place today, and Paul Miller's going to be there. He was a big realtor at that time here in Jefferson County, and there were only about 3 at that time: Henry Morrow and Paul Miller, and there might have been some others. I don't know. I didn't know any of them. But they were the 2 big ones. But Paul was going to be there, and I think it was, I don't know whether Tom Bird or Dick Bird or whether it was Beverly. It was one of the Bird boys from Senator Harry Flood Bird children came down to show it to Paul Miller, and I think it was Dick Bird. He came over to Mr. Nick and to Reva and I. We just drove over there, and he said, I'm going to show Paul around here. Anyway, I get done with him, I'll show you all around. I'll talk with you all. Just give me a chance to deal with him. So we did. We just stayed there, and he went through it, and it had been a tenant house for the orchard manager for probably 20 or 30 years, I imagine. Mr. Raleigh Cook was the manager there at that time, and he had left. But anyhow, we went in the house and we looked at it, and it was in pretty bad shape. They had torn the porches off of it. You could stand in the dining room and see daylight out of the 3rd story. There were 3 kinds of roof on them, and they all 3 leaked. There was a metal roof, there was a shingle roof, and a shingle roof, and with
slate,
worn out. Then it was a slate, and then there was tin. There was some tin roof, slate, and so the first thing when we bought it, we had a roofer put standing seam tin on it. But anyhow, we bought it for basically a handshake and cash in 30 days. And I tell people I gave him a penny and a handshake. Cause the old days, that's what you did that because your word meant something back then. Unfortunately, it's worthless now.
Right.
It's totally worthless now. It's sad because you lose a lot of dignity in business if you can't honor a person's word.
Right.
And I feel very strongly about that, and about a lot of different things. But anyhow, we ended up buying it. I paid the same amount for that house and almost not quite 7 acres as what Mr. Nick paid for the 212 acres in the Meadow Spring Farm.
Really?
In the early 50s. I think maybe 47, 48, something like that. He'd paid $30,000, and I'd paid $30,000 for the house and 7 acres.
Wow.
And what's it worth now?
Yeah.
It's worth a whole lot of money now. And I got 35 acres on that side of the road, and because I bought 28.4 acres when the state took 10 acres off the farm,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a real interesting story, but you don't have time for that. But at any rate, it's
So how many acres do you have total now?
225.
225.
But
okay.
more or less, it's about the same. About and there's 2 tax maps for the farm and 2 tax maps for Cloverdale.
Okay.
The house is 6.69 acres, and then 28.4, I think. For that's what I was doing at the bank. I was looking for another deed, but I can't find it, so I'm about to search these
When you
papers.
took over as a farmer,
Yeah,
what was across the road where Huntfield did? Was that Bird Farm?
that was Bird's Orchard.
Those the orchards.
Yeah.
Right.
My dad was the refrigeration engineer for Senator Harry Flood Bird. Ran that big cold storage down there, and I don't think it's being used as a cold storage now.
What on the far side, where the planing mills is?
That's where the planing mill is.
Yeah.
Upstairs was the packing shed. See, there was 1,100 acres of apple trees, ran all the way from the Stone Point Road to Route 340. There were like 4 farms there that Bird bought, and then some of his farm bosses and orchard manager, and that was Clarence Singhass, and his wife was the orchard manager of the whole thing, and I grew up there. I started thinning apples 10 hours a day in the apple orchard for about 50 cents an hour, and that made me think I didn't want to do that the rest of my life.
So what do you think now when you drive down Augustine and come up on 340 and?
It's sad because all that good farmland and all that, there's now nothing but houses and infrastructure that's lagging behind. Everywhere you look now, there's more going up because they surveyed one of the farms here recently, and I don't know what they're going to do there. I'm not privy to that. It's county government. I try to stay as far away from it as I can because it's the wrong party for me. So.
Yeah.
But
so you were a member of, during all this time, I guess when you were in the schools too, you were a member of a lot of different clubs or organizations like Kiwanis and.
I was in Kiwanis Club. I was past president of the Kiwanis Club, and that was the only Kiwanis Club. Now they got 3 of them, I think, in Jefferson County. They got Shepherdstown's got one, and then there's a morning Kiwanis and an evening Kiwanis, I believe. So I think there's 3 in Jefferson County. I lost track. I dropped out of it when I started farming because that's a full-time job.
Yeah. Right.
And believe me, it's a full-time job. And I did both of the jobs. I did the job at the county office. I would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, be over to the barn at 4:30, milk 60 cows in a stanchion barn, not a parlor, but a stanchion barn where you got to walk in between the cows and get the hell kicked out of you. I picked myself up more than once because I had 2 cows that liked to get you. That was rough. But then I would milk the cows, then I'd go over, take a quick shower, put on my coat and tie, and go to town and work until 4:30 or what time we got off. I'd go back, change my clothes. My wife would have a sandwich for me, and I'd grab a sandwich quick and get milk 60 cows and feed the calves, and then it was dark when you got back in the house, and you'd eat a bite when you did that, and go to bed. So I did that. I burnt the candle at both ends for about 6 months,
And you decided what at the end of those 6 months?
At the end of that 6 months, I had a bit of a conflict with the superintendent, and I don't. his philosophy of behavior was a lot different than mine. I could account for every penny that I ever spent with federal funds or county funds or state funds. I was meticulous about it. In fact, when I ran for county commission, my opponent went to the Board of Education after I'd long been gone from the Board of Education as the director of federal programs, and got all my travel vouchers for like 4 to 15 years. I don't know how long, to see if I had double booked anything, or double charged things, because I was on several state committees, and I was past president of the West Virginia School Boards Association, and I got through the legislature, which everyone told me was impossible, but the mandatory training for school board members, I got through the legislature. I had to testify before the House Education Committee and the Senate Education Committee. And they were reluctant to do it because they were afraid that if we made school board members get trained, that they'd make county commissioners get trained, because some of them aren't too real bright from time to time, just like school board members. They might have a 4th or 5th grade education and be responsible for the education of thousands of children. They didn't have very high educational expectations. And I didn't, that was really my thing. And I got that through. I was so happy about that. And I was president for a term and a half, because the lady before me, she ran for an office, and she had to resign to do that. So I finished her year out, and then a year of my own as president. So I visited most of the school board members in the state of West Virginia. So I got pretty well known over the state.
I bet you did.
And then I was on the RESA 8. I was on the chairman of the RESA 8 committee. And I was also the chairman of the James Rumsey board at one time too. So, and I donated all the stuff I'd bought with federal funds to James Rumsey. It went from School Bus Garage to James Rumsey when they started their program for carpenters. So it's been a long, and I've had a wonderful life. I love history, and I love oral history, and I want to tell you a couple oral history stories so you can record that. One of them, I sold real estate for 8 years after I sold my dairy herd, and before I started raising beef, and one day at the office, I was in the back office, and Bill can't even think his name. Bill Schultz was the broker. Good friend, a nice guy. I really liked working for Bill. I sold $1 million worth of real estate the first year I worked. That's when real estate was before the burst exploded. But anyhow, that was a lot of homes. The highest price one was $80,000, and I sold $1 million